Hi everybody, I'm Gio, and welcome back to my channel. Today's story is called Going Home. I hope you like it. I hadn't been back to the old farm in 4 years. My family had moved from the old place when I turned 18. Am I really 22? One of the big agricultural farms bought my dad out, gave him a fair price, and gave us 2 months to move. We did. A couple 1,000 miles to Southern California. My grandparents lived in San Diego. I would have come back sooner, but Dad's funeral and getting everything settled took far too long. California seemed so far away from my old home. I wanted to see the old homestead. It had so many memories. Memories of Dad, of Christmas, summer at the pool, those crazy birthday parties. Mom was seeing someone now. I don't blame her. She and Dad had been great together, but the loneliness weighed on her. The man who could be my future stepdad was nice, but he wasn't the same as Dad. San Diego wasn't home. Somebody said you could never go home again, but I needed to. Nothing felt like home anymore. I had an old friend I wanted to find, an old boyfriend that I had lost touch with when we moved. I drove up the dirt road to my old house. The agricultural company that had bought the place hadn't torn it down or the barn, but they had leveled the chicken coop and the old sheds. The yard had 15 types of tractors and harvesters lined up, as well as a couple of utility trucks, an ATV, and a manure spreader. The fields my father and I had slaved over were a parking lot for farm vehicles. I walked up to our old house. What had once been our home was more of a utility shed and maintenance shop. The doors were open, so I walked in the shadowy doorway and stopped, afraid to go all the way. One part of me saw it as I remembered. Christmas trees and birthday cakes, the night I had come out to my parents, the good times. The other part of me saw it as it is now. Old vehicle parts cluttering every counter, oil stains on the floor, and an old computer. Reality strikes back. "Can I help you?" a man said. "Probably not. I used to live here a long time ago," I said. "What are you doing back?" he said. "Just checking the old place out," I said. "Do you mind if I look around?" I stepped into the light and held my breath. It couldn't be. I hadn't seen Cade for 4 years, but he looked exactly the same. I couldn't speak. The emotion clogged my throat. "Tate?" the other man said. "Oh my God, it is you." I teared up. "It's been a while," he said. 4 years, I said. "You're working for the company now?" "Pretty much the whole town is," Cade said. "Come with me. I'll take you on a tour of your old place." Where once had been lawn, Mom's vegetable garden, and the rose hedge, was now packed dirt. The old swimming pool we had made when I was 15 was filled in. "It's not a farm anymore," Cade said, leading me around. "It's an on-site maintenance facility and machine shop. I'm one of the people that keeps the tractors running. What keeps you out of trouble?" "I worked at Pro Athletics," I said. "It's a combination gym and sports shop." We went behind the barn. Years back, we had set up crates and blankets to make it into our special place. Now old parts from broken tractors cluttered the ground. "It's not the same," Cade said. We went back to the house and took a seat at the table. The place smelled of oil and sweat and old magazines. Word trickled back from California. "I'm sorry about your dad," Cade said. "For the longest time, I hated him for taking you away." "Me too," I said. "Did you ever find somebody?" Cade asked. "I had a couple of boyfriends," I said, "but nothing long-term. You?" "Mom kept pushing me to get married to a nice girl, but I never did. She set me up a couple of times, but it never went anywhere." "Did you ever tell her about us?" "About being gay?" I asked. "Over and over again," Cade said. I even introduced her to a guy I once dated, but it didn't matter. She still tries to set me up. The latest girl I'm avoiding is named Tracy, the daughter of one of Mom's friends. She's a cook at the restaurant." "A cook?" I asked. "Mom thinks I'm going through a phase, and a good woman will snap me out of it," Cade said. Cade paused for a moment, as if thinking what to say. A smile flickered across his face, but he didn't look up. His shoulders slumped. "If you had stayed, would there have been an us?" "Probably. I fell in love with you," I said. "It took a long while, but I finally talked about it with my parents. We didn't fool Mom and Dad. They knew we snuck out behind the barn, and they figured out why." "I wish you hadn't moved," Cade said. "My folks had to," I said. "The farm was barely making it. Dad wanted more for us than this place could offer." "Did he find what he was looking for?" Cade asked. "No, none of us did," I said, leaning into the table and putting my arms on it and resting my head on my hands. "California is nice, but it isn't home. I miss the fields, the neighbors, the town. This is home, or it used to be. I missed you." Cade slowly nodded. "Do you remember the last time we snuck behind the barn? You stepped in that pile of manure?" "My foot stank so bad," I said, smiling. "I wish I'd stayed here, with you." "Is it too late for us?" Cade asked. On impulse, I took the chair next to his and took his hand. Cade had always been the bold one. He had been the first one to hold my hand. He was the first one to kiss me, ever, though that first time had been little more than a peck. He had been the first one to use his tongue. We never went further than that. This time, I was the first one. I leaned in, paused a moment an inch from his lips to give him a chance to back away. He didn't. He met me. Our kiss erased the last 4 years. It unlocked something I had been missing. It wasn't the kind of kiss you give your aunt. It was the kind we had behind the barn, the last day we'd been together. He tasted of salt and smelled a little of oil. I ran my fingers through his hair, remembering the thrill, the feel, the texture. God, I had missed him. Cade had grown stronger, bigger, more muscled. Our mouths hadn't forgotten each other either. Just like 4 years ago, our tongues teased and flirted with each other. His breath smelled a little of cinnamon. His hands pulled me desperately close. I held his cheeks, then opened his collar a little and descended to kiss his neck. I needed this. We separated a little. "It's like we've never been apart," Cade whispered. Our lips joined again. My hands played over his shoulder blades. His hands ruffled my hair. "No wonder lover boy didn't make shift," a gruff voice came from the doorway. "He got distracted." 5 guys came in, cat-calling and whistling. One made odd noises that sounded like, "Oh, Cade, more Cade, faster Cade." We broke apart, wiping our lips. "Guys, this is Tate. We used to be boyfriends," Cade said. "No used to be about it," one of the guys said. "Not with that kind of tongue action." "Tate, these are the guys I worked with," Cade said. "Since you aren't around, we have to keep his skinny butt in line," another guy said. I shook hands with each of them. I used to live here, and Cade and I were best friends. "If my best friend kissed like that and had breasts, I'd marry him tomorrow," the first guy said, snickering. "Some ladies outside wants to talk to you, Cade." "Did I finally get promoted so I don't have to work next to you sweaty guys?" Cade said. "You smell just like us," one of the guys said. "It's not the boss," the first guy said. "I've never seen her before." "Who else would come out here?" I said. "Besides long-lost boyfriends," one of the guys said, elbowing Cade in the ribs. "I know what you're doing tonight." "It starts with dinner at some nice place," one of the guys said, as we all traipsed outside. "But it doesn't end there," the first guy said. "Guess who will be late to work tomorrow? His name rhymes with laid." Cade laughed as we got outside and kissed me. Hopefully this will only take a minute. Then, if you can stick around for a while, we can get something to eat. It's so good seeing you again. Somebody clapped me on the shoulders. I think someone might take a sick day for the rest of the afternoon. Guys, Cade said, we've only just got back together. Maybe 2 sick days, one for today and one for tomorrow, I said, joking. We have a lot of catching up to do. The guys chuckled. The first guy nodded. A woman in a floral print sundress stood next to a small white car, a Fiat, I think. She had a large picnic basket at her feet. Hi, Cade. Your mom said I would find you here, she said. I'm Tracy. Good Lord, Cade said, rolling his eyes. Mom's doing it again. I've brought lunch, Tracy said. Your mom came by the restaurant and told me all your favorites, so I chose a few and made some. The guys laughed. Cade turned bright pink. I didn't know whether to chuckle or be embarrassed. Ham on whole wheat with hummus instead of mayo, lots of French fries, and she said you liked cheesecake. I whipped up one of my grandmother's recipes, Tracy said. Tracy, Cade stammered. I didn't know if you liked strawberries or raspberries or chocolate on the cheesecake, so I made 3 different sauces, she said. Tracy, Cade said, glancing back at the rest of us for help. The work crew managed to hold the laughter, but one of them pushed me forward. I know you're not supposed to drink while working, so I asked your mom what your favorite soda was, and I brought that instead, Tracy said. I stepped next to Cade and took his hand. He glanced at me and took a deep breath. Thanks, he whispered. I was hoping for some shade because I brought a blanket to sit on, but I don't see any trees, Tracy said, then noticed me. Maybe we can sit on the porch. I'm sorry, but I didn't bring enough for all your friends, only for you and me. Tracy, that was very nice of you to make all of this, Cade said, but you shouldn't have gone to all this trouble. It really was no trouble, Tracy said. I love making food. I don't know how to say this, Cade said, biting his lips. I already have a date for lunch today. Not according to your mom, she said. I don't live with my mom, Cade said. Tracy said, she said you needed a woman to clean up after you. I'm going to have to talk to her again, Cade said, sighing. My boyfriend is back in town and I'm spending time with him. Quality time, one of the guys said. Alone time, another guy said. If you get my meaning. Boyfriend? Tracy said. Cade tilted his head at me. You mean you're... Cade nodded. You two? You're together? Already? Cade leaned over and kissed me. Tracy looked for a moment like somebody had shocked her with electricity. Hi, I'm Tate, I said. I used to live here. This is awkward. But it sure is fun to watch, one of the guys said. Is this some kind of joke? Tracy said. On me? It's not, Cade said. I'm sorry. But your mom, Tracy said, her face turning red. She didn't say anything about a boyfriend. I'm so embarrassed. If I had known. Tracy opened the car door and picked up the basket. Tate, Cade said, if you don't mind company, why don't we all have lunch together, including the guys? Tracy, would you like to join me, my boyfriend, and the guys for lunch today? I know it's not what you expected, but it's the best I can offer. I feel so stupid, Tracy said, as we laid out the blanket on the porch and the 8 of us spread out our lunches. Don't be, I said. You're quite the cook. Mom knows I'm gay, Cade said. She doesn't accept it, though. Why do we let our moms do this to us? Tracy said, squatting down next to the basket. I broke up with a guy a couple weeks ago. Bad one. But my mom still pushed me. You're getting older. I want grandkids. Blah, blah, blah. Don't take offense, but I didn't want to come today. I sat next to Cade, ignoring the conversation. I guess the old sages were right. You can't go home. This place wasn't the same. My friend was older, and even though I sat next to him, I had missed his life. He had missed mine. Puffy white clouds floated far above us, and I laid down to stare at them. I had hoped to find a place to call home here. San Diego wasn't home. Dad had spent his life and his dreams here. What had it gotten him? Where had it gotten me? I looked over at Cade. Could we make it work? Could I capture some of the magic I needed? Did the magic even exist? My grandparents felt like strangers. Dad had died. My mom dated a stranger. The apartment I shared with her seemed so lonely. The old farm was a parking lot and machine shop. My chest ached, almost like homesickness, because I needed something that I couldn't put into words. The guys joked with each other, and I stared back at the sky. One of the guys and Tracy went for a stroll. The other guys disappeared somewhere, leaving me and Cade alone, which was probably their plan in the first place. Cade lay beside me, holding me. Our eyes met, our mouths only inches apart. "Your face hasn't changed," Cade said. "I can still see when something bothers you. What is it?" I tried to smile, but the ache inside prevented it. I wiped at the wetness in my eyes. "I want to go home, but I don't know where that is anymore," I said. "We've been away from each other for far too long," Cade said, and pulled me onto his shoulder. He kissed my tears. "Come home to me." Thank you, everybody, for joining me with this story. I appreciate it. Thank you.